Alrighty, hello, Region 4. Welcome to our fourth episode for our Hispanic Heritage Month series. We are acknowledging all of the stories from some of our community, from our NIRSA family that identify as Hispanic or Latinx. And today we have Victoria Lopez-Herrera here with us to share her story and a little bit about herself. So thank you for being here, Victoria. How are you today?
I'm well. It's good. Things are well.
I'm glad to hear. I want to start off by just asking you to share your story about how you got into campus rec. Talk to us a little bit about your journey that led you to where you are now.
Sure. So I'm Victoria Lopez-Herrera, and I currently serve as the Senior Associate Director in Campus Recreation at the University of Texas in San Antonio. I've been in higher education for about 20 years. I do not come from collegiate recreation. I began my career in residence life and then was a fraternity and sorority advisor, and then moved over to collegiate recreation. And I've been in NIRSA, I've been in collegiate rec for about 7 years and have been volunteering since I joined NIRSA, served as an annual board member, and I currently serve as a board member for AOR.
Wonderful to hear. So many roles that you are a part of. Is there anything specifically that maybe led you to take on these roles?
I think that early on, thinking a lot about what made me happy and what I was, good at, and really enjoyed working with college students. And especially when it came to the transition from being a fraternity and sorority advisor to collegiate recreation, I thought a lot about what am I good at, and what could I contribute, what is transferable to collegiate recreation, and how could I bring my talents and my competencies and strengths to a new area, a new field within higher education. So it was being able to try to connect those dots, and I started off as focusing solely on student development and leadership development for our student employees, and now have been able to take on additional areas that I oversee. So now I oversee aquatics, member services, our facilities, as well as our onboarding, education, training, and development for our student employees. So I did all of those education and training things, crisis response, managing large facilities, thinking about risk management, all of those things in residence life and as a fraternity and sorority advisor. So it was just a great opportunity to translate that and to be able to sell and show and demonstrate that my previous experiences could translate to collegiate rec.
That is amazing. And I know, speaking on my behalf, we appreciate all of the hard work that you do for NIRSA, and I'm sure your university and your students appreciate everything that you do at UTSA.
Thank you.
So this is Hispanic Heritage Month. It's the reason that we're here, and there's lots of things that happen during Hispanic Heritage Month. Everybody celebrates it a little bit different. So why is Hispanic Heritage Month important to you, and how do you celebrate it?
So for me, Hispanic Heritage Month is an opportunity to reflect, to learn, to amplify voices, as well as to mobilize. Right? It's not like a only once a year type of thing for me. Celebrating and recognizing where I come from and who I am and what my journey is. But I feel like during this time of year, more people are willing to listen, more people are talking about it, and the learning, people are a little more open to learning and are curious. And I think about my own journey and my own identity. I identify as a Chicana, and specifically a Chicanista, right? So as a Mexican-American woman who was also a feminist. How have I arrived to that, right? It's been a lifetime journey. Early on, didn't realize Hispanic Heritage Month was a thing, right? And then as I grow up and learn more about what I would say is the second story, another story about what our history is as Mexican Americans here in the United States, my own discovery of my own ancestors, the experiences that I've had throughout my life, all of that is an ongoing journey. And so during this time, it's an opportunity to share that story with other people, but also continue to do more learning and thinking about our intersectionality of our own identities. I think over time, I have been able to better understand where the true mestizo of my background has come from. I'm white presenting. but my family was in Texas before it became the United States. There are indigenous roots that my family still hasn't connected to. And, you know, all of that mixing of like, there's clearly Spanish, there's indigenous and there are indigenous roots there, right? But I'm also American, right? Like I'm born in the United States. I wasn't born in Mexico. I was born here. So what does all of that mean? And for me, celebrating is celebrating and recognizing all of that and continuing to be able to continue my own journey, right? But to also help others along their journey and ask questions and allow them to be able to explore. And then I'm also a mother. I have 2 little people. So now especially, how do I pass on? How do I talk about what does it mean to be a Latina and a Latino growing up now? And what does that mean for us? And what are the traditions that we partake in? Even, you know, they're a little bit younger right now. They're still in elementary school, but when it comes to Dia de los Muertos, right? Like, what does that mean? What are the meanings of the altar? How are we collecting pictures? Who are we collecting pictures of and why? What are we putting on there? And the connection to the earth, the connection to our indigenous roots whenever we celebrate and practice and thinking about the circle of life. So it's all, to me, an opportunity at this time of year to think about, okay, what is important? What do I want to continue to learn? What do I want to explore more of? What do I want to make sure I continue to pass on to others as well?
Yes, you talked a little bit about Dia de los Muertos. So I want to ask, what is your favorite tradition that you are a part of?
Oh, favorite tradition.
It's hard because there's many.
there are, you know, and well, I feel like through many communities of color, familia is important, right? And a lot of the coming together around food and during celebrations of life events, things like that, is kind of just intertwined into everything that we do. And I think in particular, being a Chicana, you know, I would say recently, so like maybe over the past decade is when we really started to dig into and understand more and practice more of Dia de los Muertos and appreciate the circle of life and appreciate our history and our ancestors and taking the time to learn about them and their life and what can we learn from them now, right? And then how can we then, in essence, allow them to live forever, because they're going to be able to live, you know, in our memories and our hearts as we come around each time of year to celebrate their journey, our journey, and recognizing and hoping that in the future, when we are no longer on this earth, that we will also be remembered.
Yes, that was beautifully put. Thank you, Victoria. Finally, as we wrap things up here, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to someone coming up in this field?
You know, I think I'm a strengths coach, so I believe in talents and strengths. So identifying your talents and then investing in them so that they become strengths. And once you have those strengths, being able to leverage them and engage in activities, whether it is in the field of higher education, collegiate recreation, and even outside. So volunteer roles in your personal life, do the things that will allow you to leverage your strengths, use your strengths, and that ultimately then are going to make you happy. So when I think about my own journey, I had to really think about, what am I good at? What do I enjoy? What makes me happy? And what does that mean? What does that translate professionally? So I would say, take the time to figure out what you are good at, get better at it, and then do that all the time. Just keep doing it and let that guide you and be happy and find joy, you know, in that. And as well, just thinking about Hispanic Heritage Month, like I would just encourage anybody, regardless of their identity or intersecting identities, is to spend time to explore who you are and what your voice is, because as we explore our voice and we discover our own power, especially as people of color or from other marginalized identities, our lived experience matters. Our lived experience brings value to whatever team that we are a part of. So the better that we are able to voice our experiences and bring that lens and perspective to the table wherever we sit, we will enrich whatever communities and whatever groups that we are a part of.
Thank you so much for sharing that wonderful piece of advice. And I hope everyone from Region 4 was listening. I do want to thank you, Victoria, for taking the time to be here with all of us here at Region 4, sharing a little bit about your journey, your story, and the traditions that you are a part of. Thank you, Region 4, for listening, and we will see you next week.
Gracias.
Bye.
Bye.